There is something so exceptionally entrancing about the antiquated Egyptians that has enthralled antiquarians, archaeologists, and general society for the last 200 years, and it's simple to see the reason why. From the weird type of composing called hieroglyphics to the baffling Sphinx, and from the grotesque mummies to the incomparable pyramid, Old Egypt was a cryptic land that pulled in antiquated Roman pioneers and their militaries to the Egyptian seaports. What's more, English Egyptologists to its dusty sanctuaries and burial chambers. Quite a bit of how we might interpret old societies can be ascribed to the antiquated Egyptians, who left us numerous texts and fortunes, landmarks and fantasies that offer us tempting signs about the extraordinary and wondrous culture of antiquated Egypt. Egypt is an exceptionally old land with civilizations dating to around 5500 BCE. History specialists partition antiquated Egyptian history into thirds, and the Old Realm, Center Realm, and New Realm. In antiquated times, individuals of Egypt involved the rules of specific rulers as date markers, making it challenging for the present archaeologists to authoritatively date designs and landmarks. In any case, the Egyptians tracked their rulers, or pharaohs, that researchers unraveled once. They opened the way to interpreting the composing arrangement of the antiquated Egyptians. In old time and today, life in Egypt relies upon the Nile waterway, the life-supporting body of water that streams south to north, slicing through the unwelcoming desert sands of the Sahara. The Nile is inclined to occasional flooding, which makes the land on one or the other side of its shores rich and fruitful, ideal for horticulture. However, it is a sensitive equilibrium. If the Nile floods excessively, it can annihilate ranch fields and settlements. On the off chance that it doesn't flood, the harvests could wilt and bite the dust, causing starvation. The rich land along the Nile previously drove itinerant individuals to put down long-lasting horticultural settlements in antiquated Egypt. As these settlements developed, exchange and trade started, class structures emerged, and specialists and experts prospered. Communication between the various settlements turned out to be more regular as individuals of Old Egypt drew nearer to laying out a bound together realm. The environment of Old Egypt was evolving. Around 3600, the grounds further away from the Nile were becoming drier and more sweltering, driving more individuals to move to the banks of the Nile. The flood of individuals stretched the boundaries of the area's food-delivering capacities. As adjoining networks vied for assets, pioneers requested the development of walls. What's more, other guard strategies. 3 principal realms shaped, and they combat each other for food. What's more, exchange products, and for valuable stones and gold. Following quite a while of rivalry, one realm rose as the most impressive of the 3, and its ruler, Lord Narmer, shut down the clashes and joined the 3 realms in 2950, making him the principal genuine leader of Egypt. What's more, the pioneer behind the main country state ever. Under Lord Narmer, Egypt acquired its public personality. He laid out a legislative framework, made symbols of eminence, like the crown, and requested the development of enormous and lavish structures as a demonstration of the significance of the regal family. During Lord Narmer's rule, or not long after, a procedure for composing was created in Old Egypt. The composed language started as a type of record saving for trade, yet immediately formed into a way for illustrious copyists to monitor the names and titles of rulers, and their genealogy. What's more, key occasions. Hieroglyphics permitted them to deify their rulers ever. Egyptian lords, or pharaohs, were almighty in Egyptian culture. Pharaohs were seen as the natural encapsulation of Horus, the connection among people and the divine beings. Accordingly, when a ruler took the lofty position, he was promptly given divine status. He played a double part of assuaging the divine beings and guarding his human subjects, useful and sound. Seasons of dry spell, infection, starvation, or battle, as per the antiquated Egyptians, didn't occur by regular implies, but since the divine beings were disappointed with the pharaoh, and he was being rebuffed. The clerics of antiquated Egypt were second just to the pharaohs in power. In spite of the fact that they did not have an immediate line of correspondence with the divine beings like the pharaohs, they were entrusted with supporting the pharaoh in keeping the divine beings cheerful and the residents flourishing. Ministers could become affluent in antiquated Egypt, principally through the gifts they were given by well-off individuals who needed to start the ball rolling in a good direction with both the divine beings and the pharaoh. A conversation of old Egypt wouldn't be finished without tending to two of the greatest tourist spots in Egypt, the incomparable pyramid at Giza and the Sphinx. The incomparable pyramid is moreover called the Pyramid of Khufu after the fourth administration pharaoh who requested its development. It is the most seasoned of the three pyramids in the Giza complex, and dates to around 2560 BCE. The design stays a wonder of old designing and development. Remembered to be a burial place, the incomparable pyramid was the incredible accomplishment of Egypt's pyramid manufacturers, who fabricated 80 pyramids, taking all things together. Similarly amazing and more puzzling is the incomparable Sphinx, likewise on the Giza level. The tremendous sculpture of the legendary animal who was half human and half lion is frequently ascribed to the pharaoh Khafra, putting its development at about 2494 BC. Some antiquarians and archaeologists, nonetheless, estimate that the Sphinx might be a lot more seasoned. We in all actuality do be aware that at different places the incomparable Sphinx was almost gobbled up by the desert sands. It was covered up to its neck by the moving sands of the Sahara and must be recovered back. The cryptic Sphinx, alongside the incomparable Pyramid of Giza, are images of Egypt perceived all over the planet. The pharaohs that reigned in the New Realm, somewhere in the range of 1570 and 1070 BC, used more power. What's more, order than any rulers who went before them. These were the rulers who expanded Egypt's landholdings, fabricated aggressive sanctuaries and landmarks, and laid out unfamiliar discretion with encompassing countries. In the 20 years he managed, Pharaoh Thutmose III fabricated Egypt into an impressive realm through definitive military triumphs, which are chronicled in Karnak's Corridor of Chronicles. One more of Egypt's New Realm pharaohs, Akhenaten, is best associated with being the ruler who attempted to change strict love in Old Egypt. Prior to Akhenaten's rule, Egyptians revered a pantheon of gods, similarly as the old Greeks, Romans, and Norse. Akhenaten, be that as it may, constrained the residents into monotheism with only one preeminent god, a sun god. Individuals of antiquated Egypt normally shrugged off this unexpected and revolutionary change in their strict practices, albeit barely any stood in opposition to their pharaoh. After his passing, polytheism was re-established, sculptures and landmarks to Akhenaten were annihilated, or on the other hand destroyed, and his name was cancelled from the record of lords. The wonderful Egyptian sovereign, Nefertiti, was hitched to Akhenaten, yet not much else is had some significant awareness of her. Sovereigns just controlled an association with their lords. In any case, students of history accept that Nefertiti might have filled in as the sole leader of her kin after her better half's demise and before the kid pharaoh, Tutankhamun, started his rule. We may not have a lot of familiarity with Nefertiti's experience, yet we really do understand what she resembled. A bust of her similarity, accepted to have been etched in 1345 BC, was uncovered in a craftsman's work by a German classicist in 1912. The bust of Nefertiti, frequently called the most lovely lady who at any point lived, is in plain view at a historical center in Berlin. Upon the passing of Akhenaten, there was no reasonable successor to expect the high position. The as it were proper individual was Tutankhamun, a 7-year-old youngster. The kid pharaoh, as he later became known, turned into an easily recognized name after his fortune-loaded, almost flawless burial place was found in the valley. of the Lords in 1922 by English prehistorian Howard Carter. Other than the inestimable fortunes, fancy stone casket, and embalmed stays of the pharaoh, the burial place kept down a revile. Assuming the legends are to be accepted that caused the weird and unforeseen passings of Carter and a few individuals from the archaeological group. The secret of the revile, alongside the stash of significant curios, made an entrancing story, prompting Lord Tut's colossal distinction. The disclosure of ruler Tut's burial chamber and the overall consideration it accumulated put the old Egyptian special memorial service and entombment rehearsals at the center of attention. In the folklore and religion of antiquated Egypt, the faith in life following death was of high significance. Pharaohs and aristocrats spent their lives planning for their demises and attempted to guarantee that they would appreciate an agreeable existence in the wake of death. A vital part of this was the safeguarding of the cadaver. The individuals of antiquated Egypt created compelling treating and embalmment strategies, including enveloping the departed by pieces of material fabric that exploited the dry desert environment. To safeguard the body, the memorial service customs of the old Egyptians ensured the departed had a protected excursion to the afterworld. A few